So another video on the Steam summer sale. This time we are looking at some hidden gems. So at least I'm hoping some of these are hidden gems for you. So we start with Hellish Quart, a game I've mentioned a couple of times here and there, usually in the hidden gems section. So this is a dueling game, fighting 1v1 against different style of fighters set in the 17th century. And you have some interesting characters with different fighting styles, let's say. It's a single player and a split screen co-op or versus game. And they have recently added a story mode, I think. So this makes it a little different, but it's quite brutal. I've seen some gameplay on YouTube and it looks pretty good. Still in early access, has a VR mode as well. This is 35% off, $11, exactly 500 in India, 928 in the UK, 14 in Canada, 1032 in the Eurozone. Next is a game called No Sun to Worship. So this is inspired by the early Metal Gear games, stealth game, that sort of thing. It looks pretty good. The only thing you have to remember is this is a very short game, so less than an hour probably. So keep that in mind, but it's not an expensive game to begin with. 40% off, $479, $240 in India, 4 in the UK, $629 in Canada, $467 in the Eurozone. Next is the Mummy Demastered, so a slightly older game. This is a 2D Metroidvania action adventure, pixel graphics. It just reminds me of Metal Slug style games, and I like the look of this one. This is 50% off, $999, $264 in India, $774 in the UK, $1139 in Canada, and 10 in the Eurozone. Next we have Slasher's Keep. So this is a dungeon crawler in first person roguelike style game. Again, another game where I like the art quite a lot. I had come across this game when it was in early access. It's out now, so might be worth picking up. Reviews are not the best, recent ones are mixed, overall still positive. And this is 65% off, again not an expensive game, $489, $154 in India, $384 in the UK, 5 in Canada, $489 in the Eurozone. Next we have the Zachtronics Solitaire collection. So if you like Solitaire, or if you want to buy something for your dad, I suppose, this would be a great one because they have taken the Solitaire idea and made a lot of different style games with it, with some interesting twists and turns. Overwhelmingly positive, so might be worth a look. I have actually considered buying this for myself for on mobile, but it's cheaper on Steam. So 50% off, $499, $240 in India, $425 in the UK, $649 in Canada, $487 in the Eurozone. Next is a game called Heavenly Bodies. So it says here, wrangle the hands and arms of a 1970s space cosmonaut and push, pull and twist your way through an increasingly precarious range of physically simulated stellar scenarios. Anyway, what this means is basically you have to control the limbs of your astronaut with the different buttons on your controller. We had a lot of these games in the past, like 10 years ago or something like Manual Samuel, if you remember. And so this is basically that concept, but in space, which makes it hilarious and unnecessarily difficult to do basic things. And that is the appeal of this game, but it is overwhelmingly positive. So this is 50% off, $10, $264 in India, $774 in the UK, $1139 in Canada, $839 in the Eurozone. Next is The Life and Suffering of Sir Brante. So this is a hardcore RPG, basically a storybook style game where you have a lot of branching paths and different choices to make as you go through an entire lifetime of a person. And yeah, you make some brutally difficult decisions which result in completely different outcomes. Game has very positive reviews, 88% positive. And so 60% off for this one, $8, $279 in India, $679 in the UK, 9 in Canada, 8 in the Europe. Now next we have the most stereotypical game you can imagine. This is called Straya, and this is based in Australia where everything wants to kill you. So first person FPS shooter style game, and yeah, probably all the animals attacking you and stuff. Very positive reviews. Not an expensive game again, it's 40% off, $10.79 in the UK, in the US, $2.99 in India, $8.39 in the UK, $12.29 in Canada, $8.99 in the Eurozone. Next is Moncage. So this is a game I did come across a few years ago and wanted to get it but forgot all about it. This is a puzzle game, and you have this box here which has different faces, and each face has a unique scene, and you sort of move it around and find the solution. Very interesting concept and a nice looking game. 30% off, $1049, $321 in India, $9 in the UK, $12.29 in Canada, $10.14 in the Eurozone. Next is Haiku the Robot. So a cutesy looking 2D platformer, pixel graphics, reminds me of like Hollow Knight. Yeah, and I think it's a nice looking game, has very positive reviews, 86%. This was in a humble bundle recently, so you may already have it if you bought that bundle. And this is 50% off, $10, $264 in India, $874 in the UK, $11 in Canada, $949 in the Eurozone. Next is the Eternal Cylinder. So this is a game where you are on an alien planet, some interesting creatures called Trebhum, and basically you have a lot of different mutations for these creatures, which is what you use to solve the puzzles and explore the planet. So kind of reminds me of that Spore game, I suppose, based on the looks. And this is 70% off, $749, $330 in India, $629 in the UK, $975 in Canada, $749 in the Eurozone. Next is Axiom of Maria. So this is a game I have come across on Twitter. So I think the dev posts some pictures, and this is a cyberpunk third-person action-adventure game. Indie game, looks alright graphically, reviews are positive, and there's also a demo. So this is 20% off, $8, $335 in India, $8 in the UK, $10.39 in Canada, and $8 in the Eurozone. Next is Broken Pieces. So this is a psychological thriller set in southern France in the coastal villages. Now initially when this game came out, I remember this being like a top-down style game, but they have now added an over-the-shoulder third-person Resident Evil style view, and yeah, should make it a lot more easier to play. Mostly positive reviews, came out late September 22, 60% off, $10, $440 in India, $839 in the UK, $13 in Canada, $10 in the Eurozone. And then finally we have Soulslinger, Envoy of Death. So basically you are a gunslinger in limbo. So you have to get out of afterlife by harvesting souls and fighting off an organization called the Cartel. And so this is one of your roguelite style of games where you have different runs and try to improve on your runs. It looks pretty good. It reminds me of Hunt Showdown, for example. And it's not an expensive game, still in early access though. Has a demo, so you can check it out. This is 33% off, $12, $542 in India, $10 in the UK, $15 in Canada, $12 in the US. So that's a look at some hidden gems. Hopefully some of these were actually hidden for you. And yeah, I'll try and make a few more videos before the sale ends, some interesting ideas. But yeah, thank you for watching. See you next time.